Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And I'm broadcasting backwards, and you can see that my guests are on the screen with me from the start. We had a quick rearrangement or logistics we had to do real quick. Just want to give a quick shout out to the Village of Lansing and the work they're doing with the Chess Club, which is one of their new projects. Check that out. And the stuff they're doing with intervention within the gun violence ranks and all of that, which will become more relevant about our show today too. And also, I've been asking the guests on who they'd like me to give a shout out to, and our guest today picked Brent Forsberg, who was on the show a few months ago, and one of the greatest systems thinkers we have in our area. So shout out to Brent, and let's get to our guests real quick. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, Jerry. Thanks for having us.
So you mind kind of tell us your name and what you've been up to today?
No, my name is Jeff Lazaros. I live here in the suburban Lansing area. And today I'm hanging out with my good and new friend, Mr. John Smoke Sr., and we're out promoting a program that we have here in Lansing called Strikeout Baseball.
Yeah.
So that's kind of taken on a life of its own here over the last I'd say year and a half.
Okay.
And it's coming to a head. So,
well, we're going to be talking a lot about that. What about you, Ben? Hanging out with your new friends today too?
Yes, absolutely. But I'm at my daughter's house. We live in Arizona. See my grandchildren and my great granddaughter. And then, of course, I got involved now in Jeff, and I'm excited. At my age, it's getting me going.
Well, before we get into the strikeout baseball too much, who should we go? Who should we have go first? But tell us where you were born and raised, and where you went to school, and what got you into this.
you know, when we play golf, we have a little saying called age before beauty.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll let Mr. Smoke take the mic there.
Okay. Actually, I grew up in the Detroit area. Went to Epiphany Grade School. Went to Detroit Catholic Central High School. And then I went into the seminary to study to be a Basilian priest for 3 years. Came out in 1963, got a job teaching the accordion, and went full-time to school at Wayne State University, which I got a degree. And then the rest, I had numerous companies. I owned my own company. We were a big distributor of dictation equipment. And then we moved about 20-some years ago full-time to Arizona. We have 12 grandchildren. And we have 3 great-grandchildren. 2 are in Atlanta, 1 in Lansing. So now every summer we'll be back seeing them in both 2 states. But obviously, I grew up in Detroit. My parents are from Michigan. My wife's parents are.
And do you want to? Well, actually, do you want to bounce over to you, or do you want to tell us? Because not everybody will know who John is.
Okay. Yes, well, a good story is we started him on the accordion at 4 being musicians. And at 7, he politely told us where we could take the accordion because he said he'd be a Major League Baseball player. My wife tells every parent, never destroy a dream, because we did. And he did make it. And so we're proud of him. He made the Hall of Fame, and he just got he's with the broadcast now with Fox Sports and MLB, and he won an Emmy aside. So we're proud of our son, and he's now going to be involved in this program. And the greatest thing we're proud of is that he won the Marvin Miller Award twice and the Roberto Clemente. It's what you do for your community, not what you do with God-given talent. My daughter played for Michigan State, and my middle son was injured. So, like I said, we're proud of our family.
So, and I think the city should be proud of the city and of John, and that he was from here. I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit about, Magic Johnson and everything he's done, John Smoltz and everything he's done. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an Emmy awarding broadcaster. Greatness comes out of the city very often, you guys, and you need to keep that in mind, that any one of us can do anything that we want to do. We don't need salt water to make greatness happen. Fresh water is just fine.
Exactly.
So thank you for that real quick.
Thank you.
Let's jump over to you, Jeff. Where were you born and raised?
That's a
and all
tough
that?
act to follow. Maybe I should have went first, I'm thinking.
How many kids do you have in the Hall of Fame?
I'm born and raised in Detroit. I grew up on the west side. Grew up with a passion for baseball. Baseball was a way of life, and it's kind of festered into what we're doing now with Strikeout Baseball here in Lansing. But just growing up in the inner city, I always say that I have an education money can't buy. It's a little rougher life. It's a different lifestyle. But baseball was a common thread that we often used not only to communicate but to navigate through life. I played baseball all through school and into college. I actually tried out 4 or 5 major league teams. I was a left-handed pitcher, throwing mid to high 80s out of high school. So I had dreams and hopes of being a major league baseball player. And when my hopes were dashed, I threw up my arm my second year of junior college. I wanted to try to do something to not only give back to the game that I love, but help develop a love for the game, because baseball has seen its fair share of declination through kids levitating to football and basketball and soccer, but also deteriorating fields and the hard part of getting 18 kids together to play baseball. So I developed a love for the game and wanted to do something to try to spark an interest with our young kids and get them off the street, help fight childhood obesity, and all the great things that we have to offer through this program is what we're here to kind of talk about and represent with you. So having been born and raised in Detroit, I feel that that kind of gave me the foundation, not only for the love of baseball, but I worked at Tiger Stadium as a kid. I used to walk into work with Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker and Jack Morris and Chet Lemon and all these guys. These were my idols and my heroes. So just all the way back to when I was a kid, baseball has just been in my blood. I love the game. And now here I am surrounded by all these great people that are deeply rooted in the game of baseball, including Mr. Smoltz and his family and his son, of course. But we're excited to share with you more about the program. So.
I want to make a little comment about my experience with baseball. When I was a kid, I played football, I wrestled, and I played baseball. And we played baseball on the Kendon field over by Kavanaugh in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Almost every day when I was smaller. And then I moved over in the Atwood neighborhood, and we played at Atwood every day. And it was easy to find 10, 15 people that would want to play. But I don't even know if either of those fields are still there, if they're maintained. And I don't see like kind of that pickup baseball anymore.
I often tell stories how growing up in Detroit, we'd play 9-on-9, and there'd be 9 kids waiting to play the winning team all the time. You're talking 30 kids at a park. You'll never see that in this day and age. And that's kind of a sore spot with myself and with Mr. Smoltz, is that kids don't play pickup baseball like they used to. And there's a handful of reasons why. Of course, computers and video games, as I mentioned, deteriorating fields. The kids are just busy. You're not going to get 18 kids together to play pickup baseball.
It's going to the park like that's not so much a thing anymore. I mean, we had a big Parks and Rec, so we had organized teams as well as our pickup kind of games that we had.
Well, in my case, when he mentioned this, we got to Johnny, talked strikeout baseball. Immediately, Johnny said, "That's what we did. We went to Elmwood School. I used to throw the ball, and we played strikeout baseball." So that you can get 3-on-3, you can get 2-on-2, and now we'll bring the game back where it's fun, but also more importantly, try to play sports today if you're a poor family. One, to play basketball, the shoes are a fortune. This program, there's going to be no cost involved. They're going to get the bat, the ball, and they're going to have an opportunity. Any kid can play this game.
And I think that we do see some positive big crowds at the soccer fields, though.
Mm-hmm.
But soccer fields, you can make a soccer field wherever you want out of 2 sticks and a ball or whatever. But it's still, we only have so many of those that are functioning right now. Do you? So we talked a little bit about the crossover, baseball, and now there's the soccer option. Do you feel that once you have this, you'll pull some of the one of the big reasons we have soccer here is because we're a refugee community. So we have a lot of refugees that moved into Lansing that had this love of soccer before they ever came. Do you think we'll see more people migrating into baseball or having that option?
I'll answer that briefly before I turn it over to Mr. Smoltz. I know he's got something to say about that. One of the things that we talk about with some of the local people here in Lansing was location for what we're doing. We feel that, ideally, as a developer or some of these other people that we've been talking to on the construction side of things, they'd love to see this thing built over on Michigan Avenue, high visibility area, high traffic area, make it a spotlight, a showcase. We feel that by taking Strikeout Baseball and implementing it blocks from the Capitol over by Ferris Park, you're taking a facility and a structure and making it more accessible to those inner city kids that can't get across town, that don't have a glove or a bat. We're making some things available through Parks and Rec. So I think that we're really excited for being able to answer your question, to help develop a love for the game. And who's to say what these kids will levitate to once they have a love for the game. Part of my sales pitch in all this has been, if you had 4 kids sitting around playing video games, they could very easily say, let's go shoot some hoop, let's go play some other sports, or go play golf, play tennis. They won't say, let's go play baseball. Strikeout Baseball, we feel, will become a tool to help develop the skills of young kids who otherwise might not be good enough. 2, a kid might have already played baseball, stuck him in right field, and he goes, well, this is boring. I can go pick dandelions in my yard, right? So the point being, we've taken the fun aspects of baseball and combined them into an action-packed game that's going to allow kids to come in and pitch and hit in the field with some modified rules that will end up being picked up on. But we're just excited because we know that by the people we have involved, that we have something really cool and unique to offer to the community and to the game of baseball itself.
And the kids playing at that field, soccer, by the way, this field's going to be right next to it.
Yeah.
So they're going to see it. Maybe I played the game and said, hey, Bill, how about you and me play Strikeout? Let's go over there. Oh, they got the balls there, they got the bat. So, yes, we think we'll introduce some soccer kids the ability to play baseball.
And this is right by where the Beacon.
Right on the north side of Beacon Field, yes.
Perfect. So we're building a complex too, right?
Well, it's
With
funny you
different
say that.
options.
Mike Price, the director of the Lansing Sports Authority, he's already had some rave reviews and people that have come and visited Beacon Field from across the country to see that concept. And to implement Strikeout Baseball with Beacon Field, he says this will be the most unique park in the entire country. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I like it. So looking at the rest of the world, is baseball gaining popularity or is it waxing, waning?
I believe, and I think my son does too, these type of things are necessary because it's declining, as you just said. Where are the kids playing baseball? What are they really doing? I mean, baseball is still growing, but it's more of an international. It used to be a big American sport. Like hockey was a Canadian sport, and like soccer was a European sport. Baseball was an American sport. Everybody played baseball. Yes, I believe we got to bring the youth back to the game in order to thrive the game. So we feel if this secondary market grows, we think this is something Major League Baseball could adopt and help put across the country. Every person, I go back to Arizona. It could be Randy Johnson Field. It could be Mike Ilitch's Field of Dreams in Detroit. It could be one-arm pitcher Jim Abbott in Flint, Michigan. So this is the concept, and we think it could go. And then once the community or the churches in those areas see where our head is, that it's more for the troubled youth, I think the dollars will flow in without a problem.
I think the reason he mentions that is the fact that we've already been in talks with the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association, and we thought because of the fact that we're starting out here in Lansing, we have Hall of Famer John Smoltz involved. His name's going to be on the facility. We're building the John Smoltz Strikeout Baseball Stadium, right? The first of its kind. Well, we thought with that being said, it would be kind of cool to attach a former Major League Baseball player to every facility we build moving forward. Yeah. So we thought that would be kind of cool because there's always ball players from different areas and geographical locations, and to get them involved to leave a legacy behind, maybe in a neighborhood where they grew up that people didn't hear of. Of course, Lansing is our capital, so we're a big city. But how many ball players come from a city across the country that no one's ever even heard of?
And especially cities that need these heroes to strive for, to be like, to give the confidence to see someone that came from where you came from can do this as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's giving hope to the young people. And the aspiring ball players coming up through the ranks.
So let's talk a little bit. You say strikeout baseball. Let's explain how that's different than regular baseball, I guess.
Strikeout baseball is a miniature stadium that I created back in 2004. I built one of these in the Detroit area. I worked at Tiger Stadium, so my love of Tiger Stadium became what I really wanted to do, was maybe to spark an interest with the people who grew up in the early years loving Tiger Stadium, and even to educate some of the other kids that maybe didn't ever go to a game at the old ballpark. But having worked there and know what the history was of Tiger Stadium, I built this miniature replica. And my hope at that time was to get a Major League ball player on board to support this concept. I became good friends with Mickey Lolich, and he threw out my opening pitch and was at my ribbon cutting ceremony when I built my facility in 2004. But in a nutshell, what Strikeout Baseball is, it's a venue where kids can come in and play ball. You pitch live through a wall with a rubber ball. The ball bounces back, so there's no catcher. You have markings on the graphics of the wall that dictate what's an out, a double, a triple. It's ideally set up to play 5-on-5, a full infield with a pitcher. You can play modified rules 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. 5-on-5 is really what Strikeout Baseball is designed to do. You pitch and hit in field, the ball's hit in the wall area, and you play with ghost runners. So there's no base running, there's no fly balls because you're in a confined space. How many times did we grow up playing baseball and you crush one out in the field and you go, all right, I'm going to go home and get a sandwich while you go get that ball, right? And now you have this action-packed game where these kids are playing amongst themselves. And when I built my original facility, which was in Garden City, Michigan, Lolich came out and he was a huge advocate for this. And I had light towers to play at night. I have a public address announce system. We'll have a sound effects machine that emits crowd noise and organ sounds for special events. So here's an 11, 12, 13-year-old kid playing baseball in this miniature stadium and not only having fun and working on skills, but in my eyes, developing a love for our national pastime. And that's really what I think drives Mr. Smoltz, is having seen a young man grow up through the ranks right here in Lansing, Michigan, to go on and become one of the most prolific pitchers to ever play the game of baseball. I mean, I'm blessed and pretty honored to have him involved with this, and Mr. Smoltz as well. So I think you can feel and sense the excitement that we have going on in building Strikeout Baseball here for Lansing.
See, and we built, when Johnny was in baseball, we built 3 of the finest fields at St. Gerard's. He just told me, get pictures of it, Dad, because I'm doing the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. And he said they want to see where I played ball in the fields that we actually built. And so, you know, and that's true. I mean, the Strikeout Baseball, with me, it was one-on-one. And it was teaching them to hit a ball and competitive. And like I said to him, I go, listen, maybe we should have, now with electronics, we know if it's a strike or ball. No, we want to argue about that. You know, it hit the chalk. No, it didn't hit the chalk. Yes, it did. Part of the game.
It is part of the game.
Well, learning, working through differences in the heat of the moment, right? That's really part of the underlying lessons that we have to learn through the game of baseball. You know, sportsmanship, integrity, and all the things that baseball represents. I think it's a great thing all the way around. And if I may, I'd like to kind of just do some name dropping.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think one of the great things that I'm really proud of is not just the structure and what it has to offer to baseball in the community, but the people that I've kind of surrounded myself with over the last year. People like Vic Verschero, who's the director of our program. Having guys like Coach Jake Boss at MSU involved, Brett Kaczynski at the Parks and Rec. Brent Forsberg is the developer and construction guy working with us. We're working with Dale Hosford at Hosford Concrete. We're working with Justin Sheenan. He's involved with the Lansing Promise. People like that are really a great asset. Chris Holman made a comment and said he believes that Strikeout Baseball could be like a farm system for kids that want to go on to play baseball in a true competitive form. That's a big statement. And that's really what we think Strikeout Baseball will have to offer. And being that this is the first of its kind, we're excited to see where this goes, which is why we developed a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. We're about halfway to a $300,000 fundraising effort right now to get this facility built in Lansing. And I'll make one other statement that was made by Mickey Lolich in our presentation video. He said this is the game that he credits for becoming a major league ball player. That's true. You know, and John even talks about the times when he grew up playing. He pitched to the chimney, you know, over at the school and in the backyard, and that type of practice where there wasn't a group of kids or a lot of players. That's what Strikeout baseball has to offer.
He took it to the next level. True story. After 16, he got beat up pretty bad in the 20 and under tournament, and came back home. Did the same thing with the box, but on the house. And he put a corner, and a corner. And every day would throw 25 balls down into the corners. Again, that's a result of the strikeout baseball idea of throwing to get a strike, hit the ball. And think about that. Think about the money to be paid to even just go get hitting practice. So maybe it's not even a game. Maybe it's the father going every day there because it's open and throwing to his kid and let him hit the ball, hit the ball, hit the ball, hit the ball. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and I want to get all the churches involved there. Again, get a shirt, get 3 kids to play. So I've spoke to the pastor of one of them. He's behind it 100%. He goes, "Oh, that's perfect." Because nobody comes with that message. Everyone wants to get up, like you said, I want to be in a real nice area. No. Baseball started in pretty bad areas.
Well, let's do a quick promotion. How can people donate? And then I want to come back to that.
We have a website.
Yeah.
It's strikeoutbaseballusa.org. And we're a 501c3, so all the information is available on our website. And I'm working with Vic Versrow, and I have we open up an account at MSU-FCU for Strikeout Baseball, and that would be the best way for us to get people involved if they're interested in making a contribution to the program. We're talking to some of the bigger companies in and around the Lansing community, and they've been very receptive. We've applied for some grants, but we're trying to get the funding in place so we could potentially break ground here this fall yet. So that's not out of the question at this point, because we're about halfway to a $300,000 build. And, these are the type of things that we feel we didn't go public over the last year for a reason. And that was because we did a lot of the foundational stuff. I think hearing that John Smoltz is involved and going to have his name on this thing will raise some eyebrows and show credibility to the program. But I want to point out one of the things that his son said, John Smoltz, when we first met him and told him about Strikeout Baseball. He said, "I want to take this to Major League Baseball." He goes, "I think this is a tool that can help develop a love for the game across the country, because that's what our kids need, is an outlet and a venue to be able to play baseball without having to run about 18 players." He's taken the initiative to reach out to Rawlings and Wilson. We want to make bats and gloves accessible to the inner city kids through the Lansing Parks and Rec program, and make that accessible so kids that can't afford bats and gloves to be able to go to the Parks and Rec and get a bat and glove to come play strikeout baseball. That's pretty exciting. You're talking about a kid who can't afford to play in a league, but may not even have a bat or a glove, and we're going to make that accessible to the kids as well.
So let's dive into your mission a little bit. I think it's clear, but it has 2 modes to it. Is your mission about getting baseball back in the forefront again, or is it about the kids and giving them options to, be safer, be more involved, have more hope and opportunity for them, or a mixture?
I'm just going to say I think they go hand in hand. I'd like for Mr. Smoltz to answer that.
I would, from my perspective, I'll be upfront. I think the number one thing with what's going on in America today, with the drugs and other stuff and shootings and that, my number one being involved with him is to make sure it starts at the level of getting kids who are unable to play sports to realize that competitiveness, discipline is going to be what they need the rest of their life. And I don't care if it's sports or playing music. So I would say that's number one. If the benefit allows other kids to think baseball's cool again, that's great. But to me, the best thing is this, and to see this put in every community across the country. Everybody's looking for that. How do we educate our youth to feel good about themselves? This is an inexpensive way to teach discipline, to teach sports, to teach, and to get parents to come and be proud of their kid, even if they have broken families, and he's got a shirt on, he's playing today at 1 o'clock. I mean, so that's number one.
Absolutely.
So do you support the soccer programs, the basketball programs, the baseball programs? As far as
I personally believe kids today should be either playing music, sports, something other than staying home and going upstairs and playing the game. So if it's not, obviously I grew up with music. I wanted to sing because through music, through playing, through groups, you're meeting wonderful people and you're learning how to win. Life is not easy. How to get up when you fall down, get back up. It's taught in that game. What about you, Jeff?
I just think that being able to implement something that's unique, that's what excites me, is that the kids get excited. When I built my original facility, now mind you, let's point out that Strikeout Baseball will be for kids to be able to come and play baseball inside of this miniature stadium for free. So it's just like Beacon Field. There's no cost. So this will be a first come, first serve basis. And in talking to people like Pat Gillespie, he says, you may have a problem where there might be such an interest. You're going to have to build these in some of the other surrounding communities because people are going to levitate to want to play this game, kids that love baseball. So one of the other things I want to point out, too, that's kind of exciting, it's a little bit of the backstory, right? So I'm just a kid that grew up loving baseball in Detroit. Here I am partnered now with a Hall of Fame baseball player endorsing something that I've dreamt of for nearly 20 years now. I built my original facility in 2004. I was thinking about it in 2001 and 2002. So I'm approaching 20 years that I've been pursuing this dream and passion. And what's exciting is that I want to give hope to these young kids, whether you're playing baseball, other sports, or whatever they're doing, to empower them to believe in themselves. Because I feel like right now I'm walking the walk because I'm getting people behind me. I'm getting support. This is about to happen. It's exciting for me. And I just look at what it can do for a kid that might be, to fight childhood obesity, keep kids off the computers and video games, create an outlet while growing our national pastime. I mean, all that in a nutshell is really what's been driving us to make this happen. There's a multitude of things that Strikeout Baseball has to offer. It's just exciting.
So what's something you do every damn day to push this mission forward?
Radio shows, no. I'm making calls. We're lining up things, right? Like today was some calls to the graphics people. We're putting up graphics to replicate Jackson Field, which used to be Cooley Law School Stadium where the Leavenworth play. Yeah. So we're using the backdrop and the facade of the apartments there. So I'm talking to a graphics company right now that's working with our cement people. Brent and Forsberg and I are in communication, every other day. We're working now with the engineers. Bob Ford is our architect he's worked on several things here in Lansing, pretty well-known architect. Those type of things are all behind the scenes things that take place. And I feel like networking has been a key thing for me, Jerry, just in talking to people about the mission and what it has to offer. It seems like people have kind of just been presented to me along the way. It's exciting because I can't do this alone. This isn't a Jeff Lazaros show. This is it takes a village, and I've surrounded myself with a pretty awesome group of people that are not only supporting what we're doing, but taking an initiative. I mean, the people that I have involved aren't there with their hand out. They're saying, hey, we want to be a part of this because this is a great concept, and they're volunteering their time to be involved with this to make it happen. That's humbling to me.
I love any sport, like what you're saying, Mr. Schmaltz. Wrestling was a big part of my life. Or the biggest sport in my life. So shout out to Leo Brown, who's bringing the Lansing Lions back and the wrestling clubs back up and running. So a lot of these old programs have to be repaired and they have to be innovative. And I love that you guys are leading the way on the baseball side for sure, and maybe on the whole, sports side itself. I want to bring beach wrestling to Lansing, which is the fastest growing sanctioned wrestling in the world right
What
now.
is it? What is that?
It's like a 20-foot ring. It's part sumo wrestling, part Greco-Roman.
Okay.
And to wrestle, to push them out the ring or get them on the ground, go to 3 points or 3 minutes, whichever's first. So, but it's a quick, easy way to get into wrestling without knowing every move and all of that.
Like a modified version.
Yeah. Wow. Kind of like what you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
too.
sure.
And I'd also say that I was part of the busing that happened in the mid-'70s in Lansing. So I got bused from Camden over to Riddle. And from the adults' perspective, from what I could hear, it's like my family, like, this is great for all of us. It's going to be better. And other families saying, my kids don't know these kids and all of that. But it was through sports.
Exactly.
I did know all those kids already.
Exactly.
Sports has been desegregated from at least my youth, the biggest part of my life. It wasn't, the white team versus the black team. We
Exactly.
were all mixed together, and so I think there's a lot of positive that comes out of what this is doing. And whether it is soccer or wrestling or baseball or whatever, we need those options because not every kid's going to like wrestling. Not every kid's going to like soccer. So having one more option is one more thing to do.
And I think that's been the response from the city of Lansing. I want to point out that they've allocated this parcel of property through Andy Shore and the people here in Lansing. Brett Kaczynski has been instrumental in putting together, that proposal and locking down the piece of property where we're looking to build Strikeout Baseball. And the fact that they're willing to maintain the property is huge as well. So this becomes city owned. This isn't something that we're building for our own benefit. This is something to benefit the kids, the community, and ultimately the game of baseball. So that's really, in a nutshell, the benefits behind creating Strikeout Baseball. And it's exciting that it's right here in Lansing. I've been in talks with Larry Johnson, Magic's brother. We'd love Magic to take a look at this and say, hey, why not Magic Johnson with his involvement with the Los Angeles Dodgers and John Smoltz to say, hey, let's help build these across the country. Let's develop a love for the game of baseball with our next generation of kids who otherwise might not take an interest in our national pastime.
All right. So anything we forgot to promote? Do you have any events or anything coming up? Or
You know what? Right now, it's in the trenches legwork. We're just making contacts with some of the people in the community. We'd love to hear from anybody who might have somebody who's either an advocate for the game of baseball, maybe a philanthropist in the community. We have some big name people that Mr. Schmaltz is knocking on the doors to. We're looking for a handful of key sponsors that really want to help us, round second and bring this thing home, so to speak, pun intended. Because we're pretty close. We're excited that we are where we are, but we still have a little bit of work to do yet. So.
Yeah, and I told him now that I talked to the one church, I'm going to hit that whole 10-mile radius of every church in that area and tell them what we're doing and see if they can get involved, get kids. So if I just had 10 churches provide 3 teams each, can you imagine? We wouldn't even need to worry about anything. They'd be backed up to play. Because there is no, it's like that soccer field. People wait for those kids to come off when they go. Same when you play basketball.
Right.
Guys play the hoop, when they're done, then you get in. Same thing. There's no lock, time frame, whatever. Play when you want to. And I think the other thing you hit on, people give money to sometimes to organizations that are overloaded on everybody taking the money and the other people not getting enough benefit from the bottom. As you can tell, this is going right to the kids. This isn't a money-making project. So when somebody donates their money, it's going to the right cause.
So I got a cool little caveat I have to add. I've been in communications with a gentleman named Ben Jenkins. He's the principal of a company called Warstick, and he's partnered with a famous musical artist named Jack White from the White Stripes. Jack White, Ian Kinsler, and Ben Jenkins own Warstick. I don't know how many players use Warstick. I know Miguel Cabrera uses the Warstick as his bat. We talked to them about making a specific bat for Strikeout Baseball. So they were pretty excited. So Ben Jenkins says to me, well, we need to get Eddie Vedder on board because he's a huge baseball fan. And we're talking now famous rock stars that could potentially get involved with helping be a part of this concept as it gets started here in Lansing. So an idea that I threw out to them, and I'm pretty excited about this, is we have a lot of book exchange programs here in Lansing community. What we're going to do is create a book exchange program that will be implemented at every Strikeout Baseball, where we're going to build a miniature little house made of baseball bats. It'll be weatherproof, but the stipulation is that every book that's put in or taken out would have to be baseball related. So we think it's kind of cool. So you're promoting athletics and academics, but you got kids playing a game of baseball that they love. They could go to this book exchange box that's over on the property and go through it and learn something more about the game, whether it's stadiums of the past or who Brooks Robinson was or Ty Cobb or whatever. And I thought that would be kind of a cool aspect of Strikeout Baseball to help promote the game with our young kids who might want to learn more about the game. So we're excited about that too.
So one more question about that.
Yeah.
Is this let's say I want to talk about like the model that you have. Let's say someone in Los Angeles is listening to this right now and saying, I'm going to go do that right now. You like that, or they got to go through you, or what?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of things in place right now. I've already built one of these in 2004. We have a copyright on the structure of the facility, but we feel that what we're creating is so unique, and having John involved, that getting Major League Baseball to follow suit with us is going to be something exciting, because we're already talking to some other communities that have expressed interest, and we haven't even built the first one yet.
Right.
So that tells me right off the bat there's going to be interest, and we're going to look to facilitate any opportunities that present themselves. We're going to be working with municipalities, parks and recs, Major League Baseball players, alumni group that we're going to sell this to. We'd like to franchise Strikeout Baseball across the country and make this not only accessible, but attainable for anybody that would take an interest in building or developing these in their community, wherever it may be.
But he's already done most of the homework. The plans are all there for somebody who wanted to start from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'd be wasting their time and money somewhat.
Well, it would only take them 20 years.
Yeah.
No, and in the light of saying that, I haven't been diligent about this over the course of that time, but I had a period where I got busy in life. You get caught raising kids. I own a couple of businesses, and I thought, if I don't give this another go, I think I'll regret it later in life. And now with the following that I have, it's pretty exciting. I'm certainly glad that I took those steps in the initiative to kind of reinvigorate my dream of building Strikeout Baseball. And having John Smoltz involved is huge. He's excited. His dad's been able to get in touch with him whenever we need to. So we have a lot of questions that go back and forth. We don't have to wait around for answers. I can call him up. We got a quick question. Let's see what he
picks up the phone for you.
Actually, you got to text him.
Oh,
He's a typical.
We called him last week and he picked up. He was on the golf course.
Yeah. No, but I had to text him in order for him to call me on the phone.
Okay.
But I mean, he is so busy.
let's call him up and let people hear what an
I'll
announcer
tell you what,
voice
I
looks
could get
like.
him.
No,
I
I'm
could
just-
get him. I don't even know. He could be on air right now because he does both MLB and also Fox. Does both.
Okay.
We'll have to show.
And he puts golf in as another.
We'll have to show you a rendering that was created. It's a watermark picture of the facility.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is make a commemorative collection for all of our sponsors that donate. We have a national pastime wall that's going to have 9 sections available in concrete. So we have 3 of the 9 sold already. What we'd like to do is get those sold. Those sponsors and donors will receive a signed watermark rendering of the stadium from John Smoltz. HOF 15, right?
Yeah, HOF.
Which means he was inducted in
Okay.
2015. Pretty exciting. So it'll be a commemorative, collectible piece that says they were not only a contributor but a part of making this project happen here in Lansing.
And then what they want to do, which I know Johnny would agree to, is like if they got a bunch of people, let's say Dark Bank and a bunch of, let's say 6 major corporations have a little evening session, and he can FaceTime them from abroad, and they can talk back and forth to him because of his traveling schedule.
Yeah.
Now with Zoom and everything, you can do those.
We might do that as like a fundraiser or something to get him involved, because he's really an advocate for what we're trying to do. He sees the potential in this. And he made a statement as well. He says he thinks that Strikeout Baseball could do for baseball what Topgolf has done for golf.
Exactly.
And that's just to spark an interest with the common folks that maybe otherwise wouldn't take an interest in playing baseball, but now they can.
All right. Well, thank you for all that. And we'll keep talking through this because it's going to weave through the rest of what we're going to talk about. But we daisy chain the shows together. Yesterday on the show, I had Patrick Garrity. He's from Ann Arbor. He's a skateboarder. He's into crypto. He's into tech. And I pass a question from one show to the next. And his question for you is, who is your favorite skateboarder?
And obviously, what's everyone go to? Tony Hawk, right?
Yeah.
But he's one of the more recognizable names in skateboarding.
Right.
And I know there's some famous skateboarders that are actually from Michigan. And when you asked me that question earlier, I had looked them up, but I thought I'd come at you with some obscure answer. But Tony Hawk has paved the way, right? He's inspired young kids that otherwise might not have ever grabbed a skateboard. We feel like we're doing the same thing with Strikeout Baseball. So I think not only is he one of the greatest ever, but he's an icon that advocated the sport in a sense that he grew it. He got kids involved that otherwise might have never skateboarded, right?
See, and if you were somebody else answering just Tony Hawk, I think that's kind of lame. But actually, he is the right person because he's got a similar. He wanted skateboarding to grow. He became. I mean, he was very good, but he became an advocate, and he got into some commercial things that made skateboarding. They don't like the commercial part of it until they get the commercial part of it. So people kind of said he's a sellout and all of that, but he paved the way, and skateboarding's in the Olympics this year. And I bet you he had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pretty inspirational, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Know any skateboarders?
I gotta be honest, I don't, but I have watched.
Yeah,
And I do, I admire the talent.
absolutely.
But I've had nobody within my family that I'm aware of, that skateboarding way out front. But I have
Sounds like
followed
if
him
John
around.
picked up skateboarding, he'd do okay at it, probably.
He's just a very gifted kid because, well, I don't know if the folks know it, but Johnny was supposed to go to Michigan State on a full ride. But that year he was all state in basketball with Glenn Rice, Roy Marble, B.J. Armstrong, and Roy Hall. He would have played most sports on LSU. So he used to kid Heathcote when he went into the big leagues. Said, Coach, if I don't make it, I can bring you some senior leadership because I haven't gone to school yet. And I think he tells that same story to Israel today.
Does he?
Yeah.
He probably still wants to try out, huh?
No, yeah.
So I don't know what Stefan's comment was too. Anyways, tomorrow on the show, I've got Summer Schreiner. She's the owner of Bad Annie's in Old Town. What question would you like me to pass to her?
I think we talked about it. We're going to ask her what her favorite Major League Baseball stadium was and why.
And I'm, I don't know her that well, so I don't know if she
It's all right.
knows anything about baseball, but it'll spark a conversation.
I like the diversity, yeah, for sure.
But let's turn that on you. What's your favorite stadium and why? And
I've only been to a handful, but Tiger Stadium hits home for me because having worked there as a kid, I want to tell a little backstory that my dad and Ernie Harwell were good friends. So Ernie Harwell got me my first job as a kid at Tiger Stadium. And looking back and having been personal friends with Ernie, what a gentleman of the game, what a legend, what an icon, right?
Mhm.
But his name opened up some doors for me to get employed at the ballpark with sports service. I would later on went on to work with the grounds crew. So there was a multitude of things that I did in my tenure at Tiger Stadium, which is why when I built my original facility, it was a replica of Tiger Stadium. And that's one of the things I'll point out too is through Strikeout Baseball, we are looking to replicate other stadiums. We could build replicas of stadiums from the past or present. The footprint stays the same. The graphics and some of the aesthetics might be different. So we're excited to say, hey, regardless of where Strikeout Baseball goes or is built, we could build a stadium that strikes a chord with people that love baseball in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whenever that era was of their favorite ballpark, right? How about you?
Well, I called it Big Stadium back then. And I also ushered and worked on the ground crew with my father, who was the head of House to House Murray Bakers for years. When he retired, he worked for the Tigers for 25 years and on the ground crew. So I did the same. And we also did the line games and all of that type of stuff. And so Johnny got to go there as a kid. But I also played behind the bar at Linda Lacey in 1968. I'm in the movie, the Tiger movie, playing the accordion. My dad on the ground crew, they said, hey, bring your kid over to, Linda Lacey. So that would be my favorite stadium. My second would probably be the Chicago Cubs. I just like that stadium. When I asked Johnny back in his day when he pitched, what was his favorite stadium to pitch in? I think at that time it was Houston, the big dome. It had deep center field and that type of thing.
Astrodome. Is that what that is?
That's what it was then. Yeah.
Because it had a big playing surface, whereas now some of these parks have little fly balls. But yeah,
Houston still has a nice stadium. Their facility now is pretty stellar.
yeah. I mean, it's great. I still want to do. I haven't done it. I would like to go, like people do, to every stadium. I mean, I've been to a lot of them because of Johnny and playoffs. And there's certain ones I haven't been yet, and I'd like to. I'd like to say that I've been to all of them.
We might have to go do some talking with some parks
well,
and,
now
parks
that-
and rec
there you
people
go.
in
now
different
that I
parts of
have
the
something
country.
new
Right?
to keep me motivated and avoid Alzheimer's or sometimes, that'll be great.
Some summers.
Yeah, I
haven't
call
heard
it
that one
sometimes.
yet.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got some good ones.
Yeah.
Selected some.
Yeah.
Whenever I want,
yeah.
I feel like having.
I have selective hearing too. I got to tell you a cute story. In fact, she's gonna shoot me.
Oh boy.
But when I got my hearing aids, you get them, and you're in the room. And the doctor gives them to me. I said, by the way, doc, did you get my tape? What tape? Well, these have 4 programs, right? Yes. You didn't get my tape? What tape? I said, the one with my wife's voice on it. So if I push 4, he said, I ain't touching that, buddy.
You're gonna get yourself in trouble here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to hang out with me no more. Going on YouTube and online,
Oh no,
sharing these
we have a
stories.
We're not
fabulous,
going down.
we have a fabulous marriage. 55 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's how old I'm gonna be in September.
Oh yeah, that's
55.
right. Wow, that's fantastic.
Happiness, sadness, joy, hope, or love. Which word or words would you guys like to talk about?
You go first.
Hope. Yeah, hope jumps out at me. I think just even having such a diverse background, growing up in the inner city, growing up in Detroit, I instill to young people. I have a program, you and I have talked in the past about the Lazaros Project, reviving our youth. And I believe that not only do we need to educate our young people about dangers and drugs that are on the streets, and I'm not trying to get off topic, but you need to empower them to believe in themselves. And those 2 things are a concoction for fixing, the epidemic that we've had. And I believe that you get these young people believing in themselves, and they have hope. That will help them make good decisions as they get to that crossroad or fork in the road. Because I was there many times, probably more than most kids, because of where I grew up. But I just believe that hope is something, not all those words you said, inspires me, because I still have hope that I can accomplish my dreams and goals as I move forward to develop something cool and unique for kids. And I said this already once, I'll say it again. I'm just humbled and thankful for the people that I've been able to surround myself with here in the Lansing community that have come to know me and know a little bit about what my program's about and what I'm about as an individual. So that being said, I think I exemplify the word hope myself.
You got anything to add?
Well, I get up every morning. The first thing I do is I watch Mass on TV, and thank God that I'm awake. And then I ask for hope that I can live, if He wants me to, long enough, as all my kids are having kids and great grandkids, and we have been very blessed to have a wonderful family of all great quality. So I'm just hoping that I can continue to live, to watch these kids progress, and can be part of it.
I like it. There's an old Russian phrase, hope is the last to die. And once the hope is gone, then why raise your head, or why even give it an effort? So I always like that you, when people pick hope, and I knew you were going to pick hope, because that's the whole.
You had underlined it before I even said it. I saw earlier.
I was underlining it, and then I caught myself and said, "Oh, he didn't say that yet." It's so in Lansing right now. We've got a lot of gun violence. It's an inordinate year, and it's going to be, a program like yours. It's going to be hard to say he played ball on this day and has been here all summer, and therefore he did not get involved with gun violence. You're never going to have that line where you can prove that. But anecdotally, in your heart of hearts, this is something that is going to contribute to that.
I believe that, absolutely. Yeah, we'll look at what even some of the other sports facilities have done. Look at Beacon Field, and even at basketball. I love to go by a park that has a basketball court and see these kids out playing ball and doing things that are physically active. And that's really what we're trying to promote, is physical activity.
Actually, what sport's picking up? It's for old people as well. A lot of people are playing pickleball. We never had such a thing.
I still don't
That's-
quite know what it is,
Well,
but
it's
I
a-
hear about it all the time.
Form of tennis.
It's a form of tennis, ping pong, whatever, I guess. But a lot of people, that's a whole new thing that people are picking up big time. But again, it's something that two people can play.
Yeah.
So there we go back to, you know, you want something where enough people can play it and still get the experience of competition.
So if we go to Ferris Park, we'll be able to play strikeout baseball, soccer,
And
and
basketball.
basketball, right? And
And go on the swing. Yeah.
Swings are fun. So did we forget to talk about anything? Anything you need to get out there?
No, I think we did a good job of kind of just promoting what we're doing. I'm excited and thankful for you having us on, Jerry. It's awesome that Brent kind of introduced this whole thing. Just met some great people along the way, and it's exciting to have the people that we have involved right now in Lansing supporting Strikeout Baseball.
I'm glad you and I probably talked about this for the first time 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Might have been
Still
that
in Grand
long.
Ledge, so I'm glad that it's progressing. It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
And everyone, every damn day at 2 p.m. So we'll have summer on tomorrow, and we'll keep going all the way to September 11th. We've got about 20 spots left. So sign up on our website or however you feel like reaching out to me. And I think you're going to take us out with something, but I'm going to hold off on that for a second. Do you have anything you'd like to close with? Going with
It's
beauty
just,
over age.
it's an honor to be on your show. Number one. And number two, I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, the first day I met him, I saw his passion. And I'm just amazed at what he's done to me. You can tell, my wife will tell you. I mean, I'm like a new person. You know, I lost like 70 pounds. I was 51 waist and 38. But this thing has, I was talking about when we went back home, I want to get a job. I need a job. I need to make money. I'm going to help him at the end of August, and I'll continue. But this is something I believe in, and I think he's a passionate guy. He's like me. And I think, you know, we probably should have met long ago.
Yeah.
You know, no,
Well, let's give a shout out to Bernadette Smokes. She made the connection to her brother and
Yeah.
brought Mr. Smokes to my house. So
about-
shout out to her for helping make all this happen too, right?
yeah. And we're big Lansing. You know, Johnny will never abandon Lansing at all. You know, that's really, he really was born in Warren. This is really fun.
I graduated Eastern in '84, and he
Okay, so-
graduated Waverly in
Right.
'85, right?
Yeah.
So we had similar
Around the same time.
circles that we hang out. I mean, the athletes hung out with athletes
Yeah.
for the most part.
And we played with a lot of those kind of kids in summer baseball, and later on in men's league. In fact, I run into some of those kids now. It's Piscadna and most of them.
All right. So, what would you like to take us out with?
You know what? I always, when I do my speaking program, I share a little quick story how I coached the boys' baseball team, 15 and 16-year-olds. And I taught them the intricacies of the game of baseball because I know the game very well. But I always taught them a poem called Attitude to Believe in Themselves, and I'll share it with you. And I know for a fact in my heart of hearts that wherever these kids are in this world, they'll always remember this poem and me for teaching it to them. I'm not the writer, I just remembered it. And my point in sharing this with you, Jerry, is you always have to believe in yourself if you ever want to accomplish things in life, right? It goes like this. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think that you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out in the world you'll find things begin with the fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. And I think that's an inspiration to me. I live my life by that. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in myself. And again, I surrounded myself with some amazing people here that are supporting Strikeout Baseball. So to be continued.
And I will, that poem is called Attitude, and I'll find a text to that and share it under the comments later, everybody. So
Thanks for
other
having
people can
us.
start memorizing. So that's a wrap, guys. I don't think we can improve upon what you just said. And
Thank you.
thank you all very, very much for taking the time. And thanks for giving another option to the kids in the city. Because they need it.
Thanks for
Need
seeing
to
that.
leave
Yeah,
a opportunity.
well put.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Deuces.